Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight at our Gender Neutral Restrooms webinar. This webinar was created in partnership between the Office of Human Rights and Equity and the Howard County LGBTQIA+ Commission. My name is Liv Alanis Myers. I use they, pronouns, and I am the Outreach and Communications Manager for the Office of Human Rights and Equity. The office exists to eradicate discrimination, increase equal opportunity, and promote human rights in Howard County. We are here to support our various county groups in countering discrimination, advocating for increased human rights, and increasing inclusivity and accessibility in the county. We staff 5 commissions here at the OHRE, including the LGBTQIA+ Commission, and we are thrilled to be a part of bringing you this webinar tonight. It is my joy and excitement to introduce you to Brian Bailey, who is the chair of the LGBTQIA+ Commission, who will be moderating this evening. Here we go.
Good evening. Thank you, Liv, again for that introduction. For those that don't know or didn't just missed what Liv said, my name is Brian Bailey. I use he, him pronouns, and I chair the Howard County LGBTQIA+ Commission. I have the distinction of leading a really awesome, great group of individuals that are Howard County residents on the commission. So I'd like to thank Liv and the entire Office of Human Rights and Equity for helping facilitate this webinar and generally the work of the Commission. What we do would not be possible without the hard work of the Office of Human Rights and Equity, so thank you to them. And again, welcome to this webinar conversation on gender neutral restrooms here in Howard County. But first, I'd like to take a moment and share the story of the Howard County LGBTQIA+ Commission came to be, highlighting our journey from inception to becoming a vital part of the civic community here in Howard County. Liv, if you'd like to start the slides. So the Commission's journey began in November of 2019 when our County Executive, Calvin Ball, issued an executive order to establish a working group dedicated to promoting diversity and civility in Howard County. Those are not just bumper sticker slogans here in Howard County. This marked the beginning of our concerted efforts to support and uplift even more than we already have been the LGBTQIA+ community in the county. Our mission from the legislation to our work today has been clear, and that was to promote diversity and civility within Howard County and create an inclusive environment where every individual, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, felt and feels valued and respected. Throughout our journey, we have collaborated with some county agencies, nonprofits, and community groups, and these partnerships have been crucial in amplifying our efforts and ensuring that our initiatives reach and benefit all members of our community and also the allies that support us. We've been actively engaged with the community. We've held bi-monthly meetings. These meetings provide a platform for some dialogue. Additionally, this all has come out of the work group, and there was a transition from work group to a commission. So that work group concluded its work in spring of 21. It was not the end of the milestone. It was not the end, but just a milestone in that journey. The insights and accomplishment of that work group and its members laid the foundation for the creation of what is now a permanent LGBTQIA+ commission established by the county executive and passed by the county council. This transition marked a new chapter. It reinforced our commitment and to fostering an inclusive and supportive environment for everyone. The establishment of the commission reflects, again, the community's dedication to promoting diversity, inclusion, and respect. We're proud of the progress we've made thus far. We are still in our infancy, only in the second year as a commission. But we remain steadfast in our mission to support and celebrate the LGBTQIA+ community. And so I'd like to thank everyone for their continued support of the Commission's work thus far. We're just getting started. And then obviously there are only 3 days left in June, Pride Month. And so I'd like to take a moment and just reflect on the work that the Commission has done this Pride Month, this webinar being one of them. I'm thrilled to share some of the activities and initiatives that this commission has undertaken to support and celebrate our community. So when it comes to community engagement, we were proud to participate in Old Ellicott City Pride. Our team distributed lots of pride swag, engaged with the community, and spread messages of love and acceptance. A significant highlight later that week was raising the Progress Pride flag over the George Howard Building, which is the epicenter of county government. We collaborated with plenty of folks. We collaborated with the AAPI Commission, and we were the first in a series that'll be known as Cultural Kaleidoscope. Our session in early June explored the intersectionality of being queer and Asian, and fostering a deeper understanding and appreciation for the rich and diverse identities that we've got here in Howard County. We did lots of senior outreach. We hosted a really fabulous drag bingo event for our county seniors. We created a joyful and inclusive space where everyone could celebrate. It was a lot of fun. Additionally, commissioners supported the Howard County Public Schools' second annual Pride Prom. We served as chaperones and activity sponsors, and we really ensured a safe and festive environment for our LGBTQIA+ youth and their friends. And we also had the honor of recognizing LGBTQIA+ elders at Chase Brexton's Pride Through the Years luncheon, celebrating their contributions and experiences over the last few generations. And when it comes to education, it is a cornerstone of the Commission's work. We organized a webinar just last week on estate planning for LGBTQIA+ community members. We offered some crucial information and resources shared with us by our county's Register of Wills, Byron McFarland. And tonight, we are hosting a webinar focused on some recent changes in the law here in Howard County, which is a focus on single-user, gender-inclusive restrooms. And that just means we're continuing our commitment to providing relevant and inclusive educational content for folks here in Howard County. And then, actually, I forgot something. Earlier this week, we delivered a great LGBTQIA+ 101 presentation at a local senior retirement community, and also at a community church, raising awareness and promoting inclusivity through personal testimonies and education. Overall, Pride Month has had a lot of diverse and impactful activities, and we have significantly enhanced awareness and support for the community and for its allies. And we don't plan to stop. And I think we are stronger than ever as a commission right now. So I'd like to thank folks for their support and for joining us in these efforts. And hopefully, June is Pride Month, but it doesn't mean that that'll be the only time we're doing stuff. In fact, we intend to remain active year round. So together, we can certainly create a more inclusive and supportive community for everyone. I am honored to be joined on this webinar this evening to facilitate a conversation amongst Liv, myself, and then some special guests. And so I'd like to introduce those special guests right now. Our first this evening is Colette Gelwicks, who utilizes she, they pronouns. Colette has served as the Chief of Staff for District 3 Council Member Christiana Rigby since 2018. In this role, she has utilized their comprehensive understanding of local policy, government operations, and the legislative process to advance some key initiatives in housing, transportation, climate resilience, and then, of course, equity and inclusion. Their diverse background includes experience in academia, finance, and staffing industries, which have laid a solid foundation in client relations, leadership, and workforce solutions. They are very involved in community service, actively participating as a troop leader for a Girl Scouts troop and as an appointed member of their local Odenton Town Center Advisory Committee. And they are a past congregational president and board chair of a Unitarian Universalist church right here in Columbia. Colette holds a dual Master's of Arts degree in art history and North American literature and culture. Welcome Colette, let me say that. Our second panelist this evening is Dr. Jules Gilliam. Jules has 27 years of overall IT experience and 22 years in academic computing, instructional, and system environments, focusing on creating and developing and orchestrating solutions, support, and training for the end user in various capacities has been Dr. Gilliam's life's work. Dr. Gilliam has a bachelor's degree in social work and computer information science. Z also has a master's in computing systems management and a doctorate in information and interaction design. Currently, Dr. Gilliam is an assistant professor at Northern Virginia Community College in the Information and Engineering Technology Department. Dr. Gilliam is a non-binary person / lesbian who also serves with us on the Howard County LGBTQIA+ Commission using Z/Zer pronouns. Z has given a TED Talk on finding the middle ground on gender, written a book Seeking to Understand, and served on the Howard County has served the Howard County homeless community for 3 years with the cold weather shelter. In Dr. Gilliam's free time, Z enjoys wood tuning, walking through nature, dancing, being with friends, and is her partner. Welcome, Dr. Gilliam. And then our last panelist, but not least this evening, is Bob Francis, who uses he, him pronouns. Bob began his career with Howard County in 1989 with the Bureau of Inspections, Licenses, and Permits in the Department of Public Works as a staff engineer, reviewing and inspecting fire protection and life safety systems. In 2000, he was promoted to Division Chief of Plan Review in the now Department of Inspections, Licenses, and Permits, also known as DILP. In September of 2007, he was appointed by then County Executive Ken Allman as the Director of DILP and was most recently reappointed by Calvin Ball in December of 2018. Throughout his career, and especially as the DILP Director, Bob's focus has always been to assure our built environment is safe and healthy for all those who live, work, and visit Howard County, delivered in a people-centric manner. DILP's motto is a quality product, fast and friendly. Bob is also active in professional membership associations, including the International Code Council, and then he is also a member of the Maryland Building Officials Association, the National Fire Protection Association, and the Society of Fire Protection Engineers. In addition, he has been an active volunteer firefighter, EMS responder for various career and volunteer fire departments for over 40 years, and also serves as a structure specialist with the FEMA Urban Search and Rescue Maryland Task Force 1 out of Montgomery County. He is a licensed professional engineer who has an Associates of Arts degree in Fire Protection Technology from the former Catonsville Community College and a Bachelor's of Science in Fire Protection Engineering from the University of Maryland. He's a graduate of the Academy of Excellence in Local Government and also of Leadership Howard County. Welcome, Bob. Thanks for joining us this evening. So now I'd like to, before we get our conversation started, I would like to turn the webinar over to Colette, the first individual that I introduced from Councilwoman Christiana Rigby's office, who I believe is going to, actually, that's not true. I see Liv has scrolled back and I forgot about 2 slides that I've got, so I'm going to go through that. The reason that we're here this evening is the LGBTQIA+ Commission was looking for ways to promote and share information on the single-user, gender-inclusive restroom law that took effect on December 31st. And so we're really excited to kind of promote and share information on that law. And that's one of the reasons we're having the webinar here tonight, is to talk about the law, talk about how it came to be, talk about the enforcement mechanisms and compliance related discussion that needs to happen with that law, and then also talk about, just the importance and topic of gender neutral bathrooms themselves. And I'd like to just say, gender neutral bathrooms are significant and they have a significant impact on our community. That's why we're talking about them. First and foremost, they promote inclusivity. They provide safety and privacy for all individuals, which is particularly important for transgender and non-binary people. These facilities ensure that everyone, regardless of their gender identity, can use a restroom without fear of discrimination or discomfort. And by implementing gender-neutral bathrooms, we also work to reduce harassment. These spaces lower the risk of uncomfortable or unsafe situations that individuals might otherwise face. And this is not just about physical safety, This is also about creating an environment where everyone feels respected and valued. In terms of convenience, gender-neutral bathrooms reduce wait times for restrooms. No longer do we see lines at one restroom while another remains underutilized. This is a practical benefit and improves the overall experience for everyone. Gender-neutral bathrooms promote equal rights. They reflect our modern values of diversity and inclusion, and they send a powerful message that we stand for equality. And this alignment with contemporary values is essential for fostering a community where everyone feels like they belong. And from a legal perspective, providing gender-neutral bathrooms really helps us comply with legal standards, which is one of the things we'll talk about tonight because the law has changed. And so as our society progresses, so does our laws, and it's crucial that we adhere to them and support and protect individuals, and then also help businesses get current with the law. And then these bathrooms also play a significant role in supporting mental health. The anxiety that many people, especially those that I mentioned, experience when using public restrooms can be alleviated by having a gender-neutral option. This small change can make a big difference in daily lives. And then lastly, gender-neutral bathrooms are also family-friendly. They allow parents to accompany their children regardless of gender, making it easier for families to navigate public spaces comfortably and safely. So overall, the impact of gender-neutral bathrooms can be profound. It's a crucial step towards a more inclusive, safe, and equitable society. And by embracing these changes, we can not only improve the daily experiences of individuals, but also send a strong message of acceptance and support. And I'll just highlight for a minute that there are still those folks, if you turn on the news across America, not necessarily here in Howard County, but I'm sure you can find them anywhere, that oppose gender-neutral bathrooms. And it's under the guise of safety concerns, privacy concerns, or comfort concerns, as well as trotting out concerns regarding cultural and religious beliefs. And in reality, it's just an attempt to torment and dehumanize our non-binary and transgender friends and family and individuals in our society. For them, it's about politics and stupid anti-LGBT plus ideology and resistance to evolving gender norms, and really has no place in this country or in this county. Saying that, I'll get off my soapbox and turn it over to Colette, who I think is our first speaker this evening.
Hi, Brian. Thank you so much, and thank you, Liv. And it is a pleasure to be here with everyone tonight and to be on this panel with Jules and Bob. I'm looking forward to this discussion later. So Liv, would you mind putting my slides up, and we'll just dive right into it. So my name is Colette Gelwicks. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm the Chief of Staff for Councilwoman Christiana Rigby, District 3. Councilwoman Rigby sponsored the Gender Inclusive Bathrooms Bill, as we were calling it at the time, CB 2021. And I am here to basically give you a little bit of background as to where it came from, where we got the idea, what's included in the legislation, and sort of walk a little bit through what happened as we were doing that. So the goal of our legislation at the time was really, as it says on the screen, to make all single-user public restrooms in Howard County available to all individuals. And that should be regardless of gender, and to require that the signage for these restrooms is gender inclusive. So we all, I think, agree that using a public restroom should be a safe and comfortable experience for every member of our community. And the idea was also that this is not only for transgender individuals, but this is really for everyone. Everyone benefits from this. And so one of the, just to go back and give a little bit more history, policies of equity and inclusion have always been among Councilwoman Rigby's priorities. One of the first bills we did was actually to expand, and Bob is going to remember this fondly as well, I'm sure, but was to expand where diaper changing stations should be installed in restrooms. For a while, we were joking internally that our office was all about potty parity, just because we just kept doing legislation around bathrooms, but it is so much at the core, right? I mean, we're humans, and people need to go use the bathroom. And where else should you have a place where, you feel like you're a full human? And that is in a bathroom. So we expanded the requirements for diaper changing stations to be in all restrooms. since that has also always been an issue. We also expanded discrimination prohibitions in hiring in 2020. We created a racial equity task force. So there are a number of things that our office has done to champion policies of equity and inclusion. And then during this time, we started talking about this in 2020. This was during the pandemic, but this was also, I don't know if you all remember, but there were a lot of debates around bathrooms at this time, and leading up to this in the years beforehand, specifically related to which bathrooms transgender individuals should use. And there was a lot of back and forth and a lot of discussion around this. And it was really painful to see that discussion take place. And at that point, several other jurisdictions locally had already passed legislation. Baltimore City passed legislation in 2019, for example. New York City and Philadelphia passed legislation in 2016. And DC actually passed legislation in 2006 already around gender neutral bathrooms. And so we felt that we were able to use some of those jurisdictions' legislation as a good basis for legislation locally in Howard County. And our bathroom bills that we'd done beforehand, like the diaper changing station bill, gave us a really good baseline of general knowledge, because, you think it's actually really easy to just go and, require something in bathrooms, but there is a whole building code that that you have to have a good understanding of, which Bob luckily does. And so that was really important information to have before diving into this issue. All right, Liv, would you mind going to the next slide, please? Thank you. So what exactly is in the bill? So the bill applies to single-user public restrooms with at least one toilet and an outer door that can be locked by the occupant. So this means that if you have a bathroom in a restaurant that has multiple stalls, for example, it does not qualify. We also have a few exclusions that we put in place, which are similar to ones in other jurisdictions. So if you are in a home, you do not need to put up a sign. If you are in a hospital or in a hotel or motel, if, for example, there is a private office that has a bathroom off of it, you do not need to put up a sign for that as well. But every other applicable public restroom has to be made available for use by any individual and be signed with gender inclusive language. So essentially, we were really selling this as a sign bill. Like, this really shouldn't do much other than require people to put up a sign. Enforcement is by complaint to the Department of Inspections, Licenses, and Permits, and then they will issue a 30-day warning before issuing a citation for a fine if the violation is not corrected. And the law went into effect for new construction or retrofits on June 6, 2021, and for all other restrooms, December 31st, 2023. So really, at the start of this year, all restaurants, all businesses that have a single-user public restroom should be complying with this. And some signage options that we had, and Liv, would you mind going to the next slide, please? So when we were talking about this, one of the things at the time that came up was, why do bathrooms have people on them as a sign anyway? Like, that honestly doesn't make sense. You're going into a bathroom not because you're expecting to find people, but because you need a toilet. And so really, we were like, there really should not even be any pictures of people on these signs. And so some of these things that we have up here were just some of the signage options we had in mind. And there were concerns from folks, oh, we have to go buy new signs. But we were like, you can literally just print this out on your computer and tape it up. It is not that difficult. So for process and considerations, and Liv, if you could go to the next slide, please. As I mentioned before, we started talking about this in October, November of 2020, and we ended up filing it in March for consideration, March of 2021. So during that time frame, we spent a lot of time working with Bob and Don Mock within the Department of Inspections, Licenses, and Permits, and also members of the county executive staff during the drafting process to make sure that this was something that they would be able to actually move forward with and do. We knew that it would have a broad positive impact, specifically on transgender and non-binary individuals, but also families and people with disabilities, anyone that uses a public restroom. But we were really especially encouraged because we got a lot of support from different corners of the community. We also really wanted to keep the bill simple and inexpensive to implement. This is one of the reasons why the enforcement is set up so that it's by complaint only. We did not want cost, especially during the pandemic, when restaurants were so impacted at that point already. We did not want that to be a deterrent to getting this in place. And so we really tried to keep it simple. We framed it as a sign bill. We tried to keep the politics out of it as much as possible, to help keep the focus on really what the change would need to be and not on people's feelings around bathrooms. And I'm honestly so glad that this webinar is now taking place, because one of the considerations at the time too was, well, if we are waiting several years for this to go into effect, how are people going to find out and know? And so I'm personally very grateful that you all are taking on the initiative to help raise awareness about this. And finally, we really wanted this to also be an educational opportunity. So we, for example, did a couple social media campaigns, and on the next slide, you can see an example of one that we did, raising awareness about the issue, sharing information, and also just generally helping people understand that this is something that really affects every single person. If you are someone who has to take a child to the bathroom because they are 5, for example, it would be great to just be in one room. If you are someone that is accompanying your elderly parent to the bathroom, for example, it would be great if there was just one bathroom and you didn't have to stand outside and hope that they didn't fall. And so, we really saw this as an opportunity to educate folks and really make it clear that this is for everyone. So we did get some testimony, and I wanted to share a little bit about that as well. We had some folks that came to testify at the hearing, and all the testimony that we received at the public hearing was favorable, which was actually really lovely, because sometimes you just never know. And we were very concerned that it would potentially turn into, a hurtful space and a difficult space for folks. And that really was not the case. But we got testimony from the ARC, for example, PFLAG, HOCO Pride. So we had a lot of folks that came out, that emailed and that came to testify. We did have a request from one person who wanted the scope expanded to allow for gender neutral multi-stall bathrooms. And so at the time, and I don't know if Bob's going to speak to this at all, but at the time we did raise that with the Department of Inspections, Licenses, and Permits, and ultimately decided that we would want to keep this simple for now, but that was absolutely something that we want to consider in the future. And folks did raise concerns about the impact and cost to restaurant owners, mainly because we were right in the thick of it with the pandemic. And how did it all end up? Well, I mean, not to be a spoiler here, but it passed. In fact, it passed unanimously, which is actually thrilling, and within the month. So we did not have to table this bill for additional consideration, and County Executive Ball actually signed it the very next day, which is, by the way, also not super common. And I'm so pleased because our legislation has helped encourage other similar bills elsewhere. For example, Montgomery County passed legislation in 2022 along these lines. In addition, our work on this bill also helped us advocate for state action in 2022 and 2023. And I don't know about you all, but I have seen a lot of restaurants and other locations complying already and did well before 2023. So that was really lovely to see. Now, is there still work to be done? Yes, absolutely. Since the enforcement is really by complaint only, or if there are large-scale renovations happening that the Department of Inspections, Licenses, and Permits needs to know about, Other than that, there's really no one actively looking out to make sure that that the compliance is there. So this is why we need everybody to look out for that and report that to DILP. And I'm sure Bob will go into it. I don't know if there is a tell HOCO or see click fix option for reporting these kinds of things, or if everyone just needs to email Bob directly. I'm sure he'll share his email address later. But it is encouraging to see that, you know, we as a county are embracing these changes to be more inclusive and welcoming to everyone. And there's my contact information on the screen. So if anybody has any additional questions or wants to reach out afterward, please feel free to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Colette, for that presentation. It's great to get some context and some history on the legislation and where that sort of evolved from. The fact that Howard County, again, continues to be a leader ahead of other jurisdictions, and not only other jurisdictions at the municipal or county level, but also at the state level. So that's really inspiring as well. So I'd like to thank Councilwoman Rigby, plus yourself and your entire staff and the council, as well as the county executive, for moving this along and making this happen. Next up on our docket this evening on our webinar is Dr. Gilliam. No, it's Bob. Sorry. It's Bob, the director of the Department of Inspections, Licenses, and Permits. And just as Colette said, that is the county department that will be administering, administers business signage complaints generally. That is part of their job, in addition to a slew of other responsibilities that DILP undertakes. And then also will be the enforcers, or provide the enforcement mechanism for compliance with this law. So we'll turn it over to Bob to talk about what DILP has done and is doing as it relates to the single user gender inclusive restrooms and signage generally. Bob?
Great. Thank you, Brian. And first off, let me apologize to everybody who saw that headshot from my bio screen, to see that face and then have to look at this when I actually come on live. But hey, you know, we all get older and it is what it is. Hopefully everybody's okay. And yes, if you want to email me, my email address is cgellwig@howardcountymd.gov. That's Colette's. So yeah, as everybody said, I'm the director of the Department of Inspections, Licenses, and Permits. And when this bill passed, like it said, it was out there, it passed, and then it was more or less voluntary until December 31st of 2023. In which point we had the ability to start enforcing, take enforcement action on those things. As Colette had mentioned, it is a complaint driven, but prior to that, working with Yolanda Saunier in the Office of Human Rights and Equity, I don't think last summer, but I think the summer before that, she had some interns working for her, and they actually went out and did some canvassing in some existing Howard County restaurants just to kind of see where we were. And in fact, we're in pretty good shape. I'm a big proponent of things. If you want to make change in the world, the stuff that really works and is lasting is organic, right? If it's happening on its own, that's saying that, hey, people are already buying into this. And I'm pretty happy to report that, you know, from a Howard County standpoint, we're already seeing a lot of that. For example, 18th and 21st Cured restaurant right there at the corner of Broken Land and Little Patuxent, they only have single user restrooms. One of the things that, you know, I went out and looked at those sort of things. Liv, if you could bring up the last of Brian's signs that I wanted to mention to you. Brian, I had to laugh when I see this sign. Is like, yeah, this is a gender neutral bathroom sign. It's male, it's female, and it's a female standing upwind of a very small disabled person. We've actually had, you know, we've had some discussions. I've actually met with the LGBTQIA plus commission, and a pretty vibrant discussion about what should be the best practice. From my standpoint, I'm an enforcement person. I can only enforce what the law says. And generally what the law talks about is gender neutral. It has to say restroom. The symbols, or there's a variety of symbols out there that are acceptable. We didn't want to say family style or things of that nature, because family doesn't necessarily, it's not all inclusive. So there are a lot of signs out there that they comply, but don't necessarily get across the point that I think that we want to get across. So we're out there again, and again, it's complaint driven. We haven't received any complaints, but again, because of the preemptive work that the interns did for Human Rights and Equity a couple summers ago, we kind of have our finger on the pulse. Up to this point, we've given some training to our plan review folks as to what we should be looking for on a set of plans, and also to our inspections folks as to what's required out in the field. And we've made some comments, some informal, feedback to various folks to say, hey, this is what's the law is requiring, and they've all been pretty receptive of it. As Colette said, this is basically a sign bill. There's no requirement in the county to have gender neutral restrooms. But I think, as I had mentioned when we met with the commission, I believe last summer, the International Code Council has already changed the International Plumbing Code. Now, Howard County adopts the international codes, and we adopt them. They're called model codes, and we adopt them for our local use. What the codes used to say is essentially your restroom fixtures were based on your calculated occupant load. And if, depending on how many people you had in the building, you had to have, let's just say, 15 fixtures in the male restroom and 15 fixtures in the female restroom. And if you wanted to put in gender neutral or single user restrooms, you could do that, but you really didn't get any credit for it. So realtors and developers and those sort of folks, they don't like to give up real estate without a good reason. And I don't know if it was in the 2021 edition of the code or if it was in 2018. The codes are published and updated every 3 years. And but in the current 2021 International Plumbing Code, the ICC folks actually took into account gender neutral. So if you don't get penalized basically if you provide gender neutral restrooms, whether an individual single user room or a multi-user gender neutral configuration. So let's say that example where you had 15 male, 15 female. If you put in 5 gender neutral, the code used to be, it's like, too bad, 15 and 15 plus the extras you want to do. Now the code will basically say that if you put in 15 gender neutral, maybe you don't need to do 15 male, 15 female. You can do 7 and 7 or something like that. I don't have the do the chart and those sort of things, but the code gives you credit for doing gender neutral restrooms, which is a plus, because again, in previous editions of the code, you didn't get that option. And so, I think that's a plus. And again, the 2024 codes, the plumbing code is done, but hasn't been published yet. But, when those come out a little bit later this year, we'll be looking at those and see what the next edition of the code brings for us.
And obviously, as Colette said earlier, the code, the bill originally went into effect for new construction and retrofits back in June of 21, and now really every other industrial or commercial space that this would be applicable for is now. That was December 31 of last year in terms of compliance, correct? Right.
Correct. Yeah, and again, it's the enforcement part of it that essentially said, hey, after December 31st of 2023. You have to be in compliance. So I think prior to that point, and again, it wasn't an issue, but prior to that point, we didn't have any enforcement opportunities on that. And the way our enforcement operation works, and it's not just for this bill, but it's essentially for all of our code enforcement, is that we have to issue a notice of violation and tell you what the code section is that it's a violation and what you need to do to get it fixed. It's not like a speeding ticket where the cop pulls you over and says you're doing 70 to 55, you've got 10 days to slow down. But in our aspect, that's what we have to do. We say if there's a problem and there's a notice of violation, we have to give you notice of what it is, tell you what the code is, and give you an opportunity to correct it. And if you don't do that, then we can go to what we call a civil citation, and we can actually issue you a penalty, a fine, a $250 fine for that. And again, you have another time frame to comply. And when you come back, and if you haven't complied, then if you comply, you pay the $250 fine. Again, keep in mind, we gave you a notice of violation, an opportunity to do it without any fines. But if we issue the citation, you're getting at least the minimum amount, even if you comply with it within the new time frame. If you don't comply with it after that time frame, we have the ability to assess $250 per day for each day that the violation exists. So there's definitely some teeth in it if we get to that point. Our philosophy is, I was going to say, as our motto is a quality product, fast and friendly. It's never our intent to go out and penalize somebody. It's always our intent to go out and get code compliance.
Correct. I agree. Since enforcement is complaint driven, but you haven't received any complaints as of yet, and you've noticed just generally, anecdotally, that we're seeing compliance at a certain level of institutions that would be applicable under the law. Tell folks how they can submit a complaint if and when they, one of the things we'd like to do is a lot of times my partner and I have had conversations with managers and owners of businesses just to point out that their sign isn't correct at this point in time. And usually a customer telling you that and telling you that the law has changed really kind of jolts people into something. We've noticed that franchises that usually get their information on codes and signage and stuff like that from an entity outside of Howard County are the ones that are most unaware that the sign rules have changed for them. But tell folks how, for folks that don't feel comfortable doing that and would like to just submit a complaint to DILT, how they go about doing that.
Well, there are two ways. One, we do have a sign complaint link on our webpage. And we like folks to use that because when they enter that information, it goes directly into our database. So it's easy for us to manage it like we would any other kind of an inspection. But you can also go to the county's main webpage and do a Telho code type entry. And again, if you're generic about it, it's fine. You're basically saying, I was at such and such a restaurant. I don't think their single user restroom or gender neutral restroom signage is in compliance. And then that will absolutely get to us as well. And using our link for a sign complaint, again, we like it, but you kind of have to register and give an email address and set up a password. Whatnot. Some people find it a little bit, I don't want to necessarily do that. If you go to the Telhoco site on the county's main webpage, it's a whole lot easier to do that. And again, either way, the information will get to us. And again, let me also add, just because it's complaint driven doesn't mean that we don't go out. We don't have the ability to go out and enforce things. Again, if I go to a restaurant, I see a single user facility and it has signage that doesn't comply with what the code requires, we have the ability to write a notice of violation at that point. So we don't have to wait for a complaint if we see something ourselves.
I think here in Howard County, most folks are pretty civically minded, and so we're kind of all in this together. So I think if folks see something, they should either bring it to the attention of the business owner themselves if it's something they feel comfortable with, or do as Bob has said and utilize the many ways that you can inform DILT of what might be a sign violation or non-compliance with the law. So we'll go ahead. I want to on the line and we'll open it up. If you've got, by the way, folks, I want to say if you've got questions right now about the sign law, please start leaving those in the chat or wherever you're watching this webinar, because I think that'll be really important because we've got one more speaker and then we'll open it up to any questions that we've got from the public. Our last panelist this evening, or presenter this evening, is my friend and fellow commission member, Dr. Jules Gilliam. Jules is an amazing member of the LGBTQIA+ Commission. I have learned so much from her, and I am happy that Z is here this evening on this webinar to give a little bit of personal testimony and a little bit of just context when it comes to a lot of the stuff this might be a bathroom sign bill that we're talking about, Colette and Bob, a sign enforcement but to others, a whole lot of YA plus community, especially those that are non-binary or maybe transgender. And we wanted Jules to speak about some of the personal context about how important restroom usage is, and about how, simple changing a sign, what it can mean for a user. So I will turn it over to Dr. Jules Gilliam, and then we will come back at the end with questions from the public and hopefully answer them. Jules.
Thank you so much, Brian. I really appreciate the introduction, and I really appreciate, having the seminar. I think it is really important. So thank you, Bob, and thank you, Colette. I just appreciate you all being here. Why are gender neutral restrooms so important? Well, I am Dr. Jules Gilliam, and you can call me Jules, and I go by Zer pronouns. I'm an identical twin. I was born a they, so I don't go by they as my pronouns. For me, I am non-binary, so that means that I am a gateway between both genders. I am born a female, but outwardly I present to the world male. And so my emotions and my inner workings are female, and I lead with my emotions and feelings, which isn't always a good thing, but I do know that it can also be a positive thing. Bathrooms for transgender people, I don't know if anybody really realizes how problematic it is. It is so problematic. I change my plans based on the bathrooms available. I make sure I go to the bathroom first, so I hope I don't have to use a bathroom. That is how problematic it is. Now, I see that the bathroom situation falls into two categories. The first problem is that women are afraid that men are in the bathroom. So if you see someone like me in the bathroom, I suggest you do the following. Check out what I'm doing. Am I waiting in line, minding my own business? If I am, then I belong in the bathroom. If you see someone who's not minding their own business, then protect yourself. But it is so difficult for me because you don't know me, and you'll look at me and you'll get this one perspective in your head of what you think I am, and it isn't that. So the problem is, if you are transgender, the bathroom for most people is just something that you do on a normal basis. You don't even think about it. However, if you are a transgender person, being in the bathroom is extremely painful. My experience ranges from zero reactions to many reactions. Zero reactions, I prefer. However, every time I go into the bathroom, I'm on guard and I'm fearful for what I might occur. So this happens 5 or 6 times a day that I have to deal with this if I'm in a public place or if I'm out. And so the reactions in the bathroom range from people looking at me at the name of the bathroom and it says woman, and then looking at the name, and then looking at me, and then looking at the name, so to see if they're in the right place, or to yelling, there's a man in the bathroom, and to shrieking at the top of their lungs, and to get the surprised look that you're in the bathroom. Now, I am a sensitive person, so it is somewhat difficult dealing with those reactions on a daily basis. I am female by birth, so I'm accustomed to going into the women's bathroom. So some are going to say, just go into the men's bathroom. I've done this as well. So I wanted to give you an example of my experience of both. Um, I went to go see a play at Toby's Theater in Columbia, and I was with my gay guy friends, and I was extremely nervous about the bathroom situation. I mean, it is so much so that I don't go to things because going into the bathroom is horrible. But I just try to move past it. So before the play started, I went to the bathroom, and there was a men's bathroom and a women's bathroom. I looked to see if the coast was clear. I mean, I do this. I looked to see if the coast is clear, and I prayed no one was in the bathroom. I was relieved no one was in it. When I came out of the bathroom, I got a look from a woman, not understanding what bathroom it was because I just walked out of it. And I could tell that she didn't realize that she was going into the right bathroom. I went back to my seat and I was like, there is no way I can go back to that women's bathroom. So I mentioned it to my friends, and one of them said, Jules, at intermission, I will take you to the men's bathroom. Now, men, they have all these rules, okay, about bathrooms. And one of them is that you do not talk in a men's bathroom. You focus on what you need to do and you get out. Women's bathroom, we all talk, we socialize, whatever. But men's bathroom, you do not. You do not say a word. So I got that. I got the instructions. I took it to heart. So I was instructed to go to the bathroom with the stalls, ignore the urinal, do what I need to do, and get out. So I was waiting in the line. I was very nervous. I was high. I'm always on high alert because I'm like, what's going to happen? When it was time for me to go into the stall, it was wet and it was overflowing, and I didn't know what to do. Now, when I speak, you can hear female. So I'm in the men's bathroom and I didn't know what to do. So I panicked and it was overflowing. I didn't know what to do. So I said to my friend, what do I do? And he goes, just go to the other one. And I'm horrified because I'm like, sharing my female voice in the men's bathroom. So I was absolutely petrified about the situation. I went and was glad it was over. But I know most men, they don't care who's in the bathroom. But it could be potentially an unsafe place for me if I'm alone. Now, going with a friend is a lot easier, but being by myself, that's a lot more difficult. But as you can see, going in the men's bathroom or the women's bathroom is problematic. That is why all gender bathrooms are the best. It takes the anxiety of having to be in contact with someone. It feels so much safer, and I don't have to worry that I'm out of place. So going to the bathroom appears to be not a big deal, but having all gender bathrooms takes the fear out of going to the bathroom. Now, I saw that one of the reasons is because, one of the reasons also that we have it for is diaper changing and anyone who doesn't want to wait in line to a restroom. And what I have to say to that is I appreciate the diaper changing spaces. I know that for parents, that is a big deal. But, regular bathrooms are problematic. So I would say, you know, you don't want to wait in line. I would just suggest you not go to that if there, that there are a lot of um, people who are transgender and trying to get to the bathroom because you have other avenues to go to a bathroom, whereas we have an avenue to go, but it becomes problematic. So I would say, I appreciate, you know, that it could be used as an extra bathroom, but I really want people to think about what you're doing because it is so important that we have access to that bathroom. So, so I would say if you don't want to wait in line, I think you should because I don't want you to take that spot for someone who truly needs it because you're taking a spot of a transgender person who can't use it. And you have no idea. I mean, it is problematic. I mean, it is very painful to go into a bathroom and receive hate from others and to receive it daily. And then if people ask, oh, just shove it off, don't brush it off. Don't let it get to you. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. After a while, it becomes a big deal. I mean, when somebody shirks in your face and tells you that there's a man in the bathroom and you're not a man, you're just human, you're just who you are, it's difficult. So having this initiative is so imperative to the peace and mind of transgender people. And I appreciate this initiative and the work that you all are doing to make this happen in our county. Thank you so much for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Jules, for sharing that personal testimony. Jules has spoken about this at commission meetings before, and I think folks should really take that to heart. It is so much more. It is something so simple, but yet something so much more. It is magnified beyond belief for those who are forced to use a gendered or a male or a female, as we traditionally know them, when we go into restaurants or businesses, restrooms. We are coming close to our time today, but I'd like Liv to put up that last slide, which actually is just a magnified version of a business card. Very for folks that could see that, that's a business card, perfect little business card size. And so what I want to do is say, I want to thank everybody for joining us here today. I want to thank the folks online that are watching on behalf of the Howard County LGBTQIA+ Commission for attending this webinar. This is actually the last event of almost a dozen that the commission held or participated in this Pride Month of June. Tonight, I really hope you learned something, and that's really what's important. It goes to our mission as a commission to educate the public and affirm the identities of the LGBTQIA+ community. I want to extend a special thank you to Liv and the entire Office of Human Rights and Equity, and to our panelists, Colette Gowicks from Councilwoman Rigby's office, who talked about the history of the single-user gender-inclusive law law that was proposed, which is now law, and how it came to be. I'd like to thank Bob Francis from DILP, the agency responsible for enforcement of that law, the signage law, and to my commission colleague, Jules Gilliam, who spoke so passionately about the importance of gender-neutral restrooms generally. I want to highlight this business card that is on our final slide. The commission is, this is technically still a draft. It hasn't gone to print yet. That the commission is going to be printing these once they are final, and will make them available wherever it tables at events. Plenty of events that the commission is tabling at or will have a presence at in the future. And we've been a lot of places in June, but we'll be a lot more places the remainder of the year. So the goal is to print these and make them available wherever we are out in the community here in Howard County. This will hopefully help inform the public on, one, how to submit complaints to DILP if there is a sign non-compliance. If you go to a place and there still are gendered single-user restrooms, this card might remind you that the law is different now, and that you have the ability to speak to the manager, the owner, the business operator, and let them know. That seems to be a tack that my partner and I take. We're happy to speak to people and let them know that their bathroom signage is out of order, no pun intended. But also for those that are not comfortable making, or having that interaction, using this business card to connect with DILP and share with them information about the location of the business and the non-compliance that you perceive is happening related to the signage on their restrooms. As we noted before, it's enforcement by complaint. But when there are DILP inspectors out in the community and they see that the signage is not correct, they have the ability to also mention it to business owners and ask them to fix it as well. But if you see something, or you go to a regular business, if you are a patron of a business regularly and the signage is incorrect, this is a chance for you to have that corrected. So today we've discussed the importance of gender-neutral bathrooms, the significant impact that they have on our community. They're crucial for promoting inclusivity. They reduce harassment. They promote equal rights. They compliance with legal standards now here in Howard County. They support mental health. They're family friendly. The impact of gender-neutral bathrooms is really profound. And they are a crucial step towards a more inclusive and safe and equitable society. And we are embracing those changes right here in Howard County. I imagine that gender-neutral bathrooms of the single-user variety is not the last step on this journey for the LGBTQIA+ community here in Howard County or in Maryland. So we will not only improve the daily experiences of individuals through fixing signs throughout Howard County based on the law that went into effect on December 31st, but we're sending a strong message of acceptance and support and laying the groundwork for probably what will be future changes. So thank you again for your continued support and engagement. Together, the Commission hopes to continue to create a more inclusive and supportive community for all. Again, I'd like to thank our panelists, and I wish you all a very good evening. I'm Brian Bailey. Thank you.